October 1849. A dead man's chest is cut open. His heart is removed, sealed in cognac, and smuggled to Warsaw. His name was Frédéric Chopin. The world called him a genius. But genius does not explain composing masterpieces through collapsed lungs, exile, and an obsession so consuming it looked like madness. That story begins not with his death, but in a country about to be erased from the map. An infant named Frédéric François Chopin was baptized, his birth recorded on February the 22nd in the parish register. His father, Nicolas, was a French émigré, and his mother, Justina, a Polish noblewoman. By the age of 6, Chopin was already playing the family's battered piano, his fingers conjuring melodies that stunned local listeners. Neighbors whispered about the boy's uncanny gift, but no one could have guessed how far it would take him or what it would cost. Warsaw, 1816. Chopin, just 6 years old, enrolled at the Warsaw Conservatory. Under the strict guidance of Wojciech Żywny, his days became a blur of scales, etudes, and endless repetition. The city itself was a patchwork of hope and tension, caught between the fading light of Polish independence and the shadow of Russian rule. Chopin's earliest published work, a set of variations, appeared in 1819. He was 9. By 1826, his name was whispered in the salons of Warsaw, a prodigy whose talent promised escape from obscurity. But then everything changed. November 1830. The city erupted in revolt. The November Uprising. Russian troops marched through the streets. Friends vanished overnight. Chopin, just 20, watched his world unravel. His passport was stamped in Gdansk on November 2nd, 1830. Exile began not with a triumphant debut, but with a desperate escape. On the road to Vienna, Chopin poured his fury and heartbreak into music. The result was the revolutionary Études, a storm of notes written for a homeland he might never see again. No one expected what happened next. Exile would shape every note he wrote and every rumour that followed. But in that moment, as Poland burned and Chopin's carriage rattled west, the line between genius and madness blurred forever. Paris. In 1831 was a city of glittering salons, feverish ambition, and relentless competition. Into this world stepped a young exile, barely 21, with nothing but a battered suitcase and a head full of music. Chopin's first public appearance came on October 14th, 1831, at the Salon of J.M. Havard. The next morning, Le Constitutionnel called his playing as delicate as it is profound. But the real surprise was not just the poetry in his touch, it was the sound itself. Chopin had chosen the new Pleyel Grand, a piano built in 1830 with a lighter action and a silvery singing tone. The Paris crowd was used to thunderous Erard's and Liszt's athletic fireworks. Chopin offered something different, a sound that shimmered, then vanished like breath on glass. Within months he published his first set of Nocturnes in 1832. The ink on the pages was still fresh when critics began whispering about the way he used rubato, stretching time, bending melody against accompaniment, creating a sense of suspended gravity. His autograph manuscripts from this period are littered with pedal marks and cryptic instructions, half pedals, sudden lifts, mysterious asterisks, each one a clue to an inner world the audience could only guess at. On the Pleyel, these marks were not just decoration. They were the secret machinery behind the illusion, letting Chopin spin lines that seemed to float above the keys. But then everything changed. The Études Opus 25, completed in 1834, shattered expectations again. These were not just technical exercises, they were experiments in sound, each one pushing the limits of what the instrument and the player could survive. The Paris salons buzzed with rumours. Was Chopin a poet, a scientist, or something stranger? Behind closed doors, he worked late into the night, obsessed with the smallest detail, rewriting a single bar until the ink bled through the paper. The foundation was set, but the pressure was rising. How long could genius run this hot before it burned itself out? The monastery at Valdemossa was supposed to be a refuge, a place where Chopin could outrun the Paris fog and his own failing lungs. Instead, icy winds rattled the shutters, rain pulled on stone floors, and the air inside was thick with the smell of damp and medicine. George Sand kept a diary of these days. Her words painted a picture of crumbling walls, endless storms, and a composer who coughed blood onto his manuscript paper. The local doctor called it phthisis. Sand called it a nightmare. But inside that nightmare, something extraordinary happened. Chopin, feverish and shivering, wrote some of his most haunting music. The Preludes, Opus 28, took shape in that frozen cell. Each piece was a fragment, sometimes only a page, sometimes a single, gasping breath. The famous Raindrop Prelude was born as water dripped relentlessly from the monastery ceiling. Sand wrote to friends that Chopin heard death in every drop. Outside, the townspeople whispered about the strange couple in the cloister. Inside, Sand nursed Chopin through coughing fits and sleepless nights, all while fighting off her own despair. The doctor's notes from January 1839 describe a patient weakened to the point of collapse. Yet the Preludes kept coming, 24 in all, finished before the winter broke. No one expected music like this to survive the storm. But then, Chopin always did his best work on the edge of disaster. And this time, the cost would be higher than anyone imagined. In the world Chopin left behind, his legacy was anything but simple. Franz Liszt, ever the showman, wasted no time. In 1841, just 2 years after the Preludes echoed through the monastery in Majorca, Liszt published a Paris review that painted Chopin as a haunted genius, fragile, brilliant, almost otherworldly. Liszt's words travelled fast, shaping public taste and setting the stage for a legend that would outgrow its source. The salons of Paris buzzed with talk of the poet of the piano, a man whose suffering was as famous as his sound. But behind the scenes, another hand was at work. Julian Fontana, Chopin's close friend and sometimes confidant, took charge of the composer's music after his death. In 1855, Fontana edited and published the first collected edition of Chopin's works through Editions Schlesinger. But these were not untouched relics. Fontana added dynamics, rewrote note values, and even changed titles. In the Nocturne Opus 27, number 2, a gentle piano marking in Chopin's own hand became a thunderous fortissimo in print. The Polonaise Opus 53, now known as the Heroic, gained rhythmic drive and a new layer of drama, all thanks to a few editorial tweaks. With every change, the myth of Chopin the tormented virtuoso grew. Nationalist readings soon followed. The Polonaises, once dances of the Polish countryside, were recast as anthems of resistance. Critics and politicians alike seized on their martial rhythms, declaring Chopin the voice of a lost homeland. But how much of this was Chopin's intention? And how much was the world's hunger for a hero? The question lingers unresolved as the notes echo through time. And just as the public mask hardened, something inside the man himself began to crack. But then everything changed. October 10th, 1845. London's Royal Philharmonic is packed, but Chopin's hands tremble before he even touches the keys. The reviews will call it a triumph. What they don't say is that his cough rattles through the applause, and every phrase leaves him breathless. The city's damp air gnaws at his lungs. Night after night he wakes choking, blood on his pillow, medicine bottles lining the bedside table. Letters to friends grow shorter, more desperate. In Paris, his condition unravels. By the winter of 1848, he can barely climb the stairs to his apartment. Neighbours hear fits of coughing behind closed doors. On October 17th, 1849, Chopin dies at age 39. The official record reads tuberculosis, but the story doesn't end there. Dr. Cruvelier's autopsy, now lost, was said to describe lesions scarring the heart and lungs, a body ravaged from the inside out. Even in death, the evidence is incomplete. Was it really tuberculosis or something stranger? The answer may be sealed away with the heart itself, hidden, waiting for someone to look closer. October 18th, 1849. The morning after Chopin's death, a physician removed his heart from his chest, a single, irreversible act that turned grief into ritual. The body stayed in Paris, but the heart was sealed in a jar of cognac wrapped in oilcloth and entrusted to Ludwika, Chopin's devoted sister. She carried the relic across borders, dodging quarantine inspectors and the suspicion of customs officers, all to fulfill her brother's last wish, that a piece of him returned to Poland. On March 30th, 1850, Warsaw's Holy Cross Church recorded the arrival in its ledger. The silver urn was placed beneath the altar, hidden from view, but not from meaning. For the people of Warsaw, the heart became a relic, proof that exile could be defied, if only in fragments. That same week, musicians gathered in candlelit rooms to play Chopin's Nocturnes, each note echoing the journey of the heart. Even as the composer's body lay in Père-Lachaise, his heart, real and symbolic, beat on in the city he could never forget. But the story of Chopin's remains would only grow stranger with time. The question lingered: what truly survives? The music, the myth, or the flesh? Chopin's music still cuts through the noise, haunting concert halls and playlists alike. Every note blurs the line between brilliance and torment. In a world obsessed with genius, his struggle warns us. Beauty often hides a cost. The mystery endures, echoing louder each time his melodies find new ears.